John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Ice Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Thursday, February 18th, and it is snowing outside again. It seems to be a pattern. I don't know how much we're supposed to get tonight. I think it's supposed to snow till around 10 o'clock. Man, that's kind of been the deal. We've just been getting snow. I mean, that last snowstorm was pretty big, but it has definitely affected your ability to get around out there on the ice. So, I mean, generally speaking, the lake is snow covered. Yeah, there's some areas that it's blown clear, but for the most part, it is snow covered. And there are where you got those jams, you got drifts. Along the shoreline, you got drifts. And when you get that snow piled up, especially along the shoreline and by those jams, it turns into a big sponge and it pulls that water up and it softens things. So please use caution, especially getting on the ice in areas, even, with the water levels as high as it is right now, even right along the shoreline. I mean, by the seawalls, you got 5 feet of water. So, just pay attention to those details, guys, and we're going to have a little bit warmer temperatures. So anything that was marginal before or that was iffy could be really bad. So we don't want to lose anybody out there. Fish are not worth that. Now let's start out. We're going to start out at the north end like I normally do. I went up there today looking out from Bobby Mack's, and you could see that the guys were really spread out. You could also see that there was a ton of machine traffic out there. And there are guys driving machines all over the place from what I could see out there. Doesn't mean that it's safe, but there are guys driving machines out there. They were spread out kind of all over the place, even though there was snow cover, and it was snowing even this morning when I was down there, so visibility was reduced. But most of the guys were fishing, quite a ways out from shore. They were kind of spread out, all out in front and all out down towards the horseshoe in that direction, down towards Meldrum. But nobody really concentrated. Now, when I did stop off at the boat launch and talk to some guys, they explained to me that there was some cloudy water when they started out in the morning that was pretty cloudy over towards the raft area out on the main lake, not in the bay by the raft, but out from the boat launch there. And as they worked further to the, to the right, coming out of the ramp there, the water cleaned up. And once they got into that cleaner water, in 8, 9, 10 feet of water, they started picking up some really nice perch. They had to pick through them, but they had some really nice fish. And there were a lot more fish down there. The visibility over in that area, I guess, was pretty clean. Now, that is not abnormal, especially up on that end of the lake. When we get these ice jams and stuff on the St. Clair River, it tends to block things off a little bit, and I think you get some turbulent flow down there underneath that ice, and it moves a lot of that sediment, especially that real fine stuff up there, and it filters in and it comes down into the lake. And you'll see it sometimes. Sometimes the water will clean up while you're fishing, and then it gets a little murky, and then it cleans back up, and you can see bottom. It goes back and forth. You get kind of waves of that dirty water. But anyways, once they got into that clean water, they started catching fish out there, and I don't expect anything different going forward. Now, there are going to probably be motorcycle races down there again this weekend. It sounds to me like they're going to be off to the left, in tight, but you're going to definitely want to get away from that. The plus side to that is last week, my understanding is that they did start parking out on the ice out there. Now, today when I was there with all the snow cover, there wasn't anybody parking out on the ice. But once I'm sure if they set up those races again, they're gonna probably plow a parking lot out there again, and I'm sure there'll be more guys parking out on the ice. It's one thing I don't like to do, but I'm sure some of you guys, feel comfortable doing it. I don't. I like to keep my four wheels on the dry pavement, and I'll use the ATVs for out there on the ice. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Now, coming further south, we get down by Selfridge. Out in front of Selfridge, there were guys that were starting to group up that I could see way down towards the barracks. They were driving machines there as well at Selfridge. You got to watch for them gas pockets out there, guys. And there's always that area down there, especially going towards Cotton, which there was another group of guys that were piled up down towards Cotton. There were guys right out in front of that main canal coming out there by Anglers Point as well. So there were guys in that little weed bed over there, and then there were guys all the way down by Cotton. But you do got to pay attention out there, guys, especially with the snow cover. Those gas pockets can eat you pretty quick out there in that area. But they looked like the guys were piling up, so I'm sure they were catching fish down in those different areas. Now coming down a little bit further south to South River Road. Now South River Road at that boat launch, we had a couple of guys that went through earlier this week on the boat launch side. And today you could really see why those guys went through. And the water was, there was open water, there were ducks and geese in it when I was down there. In the boat launch, you could see where that water, the current had kind of snaked through, which was kind of a weird pattern for it down there. Normally, that open water is usually pushed over more towards that rock jetty and towards that cut going out to the main lake. Whereas for some reason, it was pushed over towards the boat launch and towards the wells. There was a guy sitting over on that corner and really close to that open water, and there were other guys that were further down towards the mouth, which is normally where I fish, down closer to the mouth. But anyway, so there's something there that's moving that current over closer to the ramp area than normal, which was kind of odd. But anyways, there is open water there, and you'll see it in the video. So please, even if that refreezes somehow, stay away from that area, guys. We don't want anybody going through there. That's still really deep water there, and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. Now, on the other side of Harley, or South River Road at the boat launch area, there were guys out there in the bay. More than I've seen in the last couple of weeks, and nobody quite as far down as a lot of times we like to go over there to hit some of those weed beds, but there were guys fishing in there. I don't have any reports, but with the water up, that can be a pretty good area to get into those perch and some big pumpkin seeds sometimes as well. Now we're gonna go down to Metro Beach. Now Metro Beach has been producing fish, mostly down towards the flagpole area, out on some of that flatter ice down there. And there's been guys getting into them too, straight out from the day sail as well. Although that walking out there by the day sail is pretty tough still, and having the snow on top of all that busted up ice hasn't made it any easier. Some of the guys have been working their way down towards Geno's as well from that area. There were not nearly as many machines going out from the day sail ramp. There were a couple machines out there, but not very many. And again, with all that busted up ice out there, that's not, that's highly understandable that guys aren't driving over all that jagged ice and all of those, air pockets and stuff that you get underneath all that busted up ice when it blew in there. So I don't think it's real smart driving over all of those heaves and everything with machines. But I know guys are going to do it. But anyways, it's you're taking your life into your hands if you're driving over those heaves and stuff with machines. You don't know what's underneath that ice, especially with all that snow cover on there as well. But they were catching fish there. Now, I didn't take any video over there in the marsh, but the marsh has still been producing panfish, both crappies, bluegills, pumpkin seeds, and some nice perch from time to time, as well in the boat basins there as well. So if you really don't want to go for a walk on the main lake, maybe you got kids and you want to stay closer to the car to keep them warm, those basins and that back marsh area is not a bad bet. It keeps you close to your vehicles in case the weather gets bad or those kiddos get cold or the wife gets cold, but you can still get into some nice fish back there as well. And, and again, it's close, and you don't have to walk so far in the snow as you do walking out on that main lake. Now, coming down further south, again, Crocker Road, there are still guys going out from Crocker, and I shot some video from Beacons. They are making it around from Crocker, around the front of Beacons, and then making it over towards Geno's. And if you look out towards the main lake off of Beacons, all the way around to Crocker, you'll see why the guys are hugging so close to shore, because it's still all that stack ice out there, and now it's got snow on it. So again, it's not where you want to be walking, and it's not easy walking, and it could be very dangerous walking as well out on all that piled up ice. So, but the guys are fishing Crocker. They are fishing some of the canals and marinas around there, and there are guys still fishing over on the spillway. Now, the spillway has had crazy variable ice conditions, guys. You can be on 8 inches of ice, like where I'm standing here, and move over a couple of feet and be on 1 inch of ice. We almost had a guy with a snowmobile. One of our employees was down there fishing. Luckily, stopped the guy. He was blasting down the spillway. I mean, literally just running the length of the spillway, and he was headed towards ice that was maybe 1 inch thick. So thank you, Logan, for not letting that guy blast by you and not go swimming, because that would have been a bad scene for sure. So anyways, if you do fish the spillway, and I know some of you guys are going to try, please use a spud, because that ice is just so crazy. And I always wonder why do we get that kind of variability? And I know there's current there, but there's not all that much. And I really think, especially with the temperatures we had, the only real reason could be maybe salinity of the water eroding it from underneath, because we've watched it as we're fishing it, you know, go from, just like Saginaw River, go from, you know, 4 inches when you start out in the morning to like 2 by the time you get off of it, and with very little current flow. So it's just kind of odd. But anyways, that can make for some very dangerous conditions, even for you guys that are out one day and you think you're on, you know, you're on good ice maybe today, and you go back to those same holes tomorrow and you think it's going to be the same thickness or thicker even, and it's not, you know, and it could be one whack of the spud and you're through. So again, if you're fishing those areas, please use extreme caution. Now, the weather is going to be kind of stabilizing a little bit. It's going to at least be warmer. We're not supposed to have single-digit temps during the daytime hours anyways the next few days, and we're supposed to go into a pretty decent warm-up going into next week. So I would expect that the fishing is going to get a lot more stable. What we've seen over the last week or so is one day the guys get them and the bite duration is pretty short, but it's really good. And then the rest of the day, those fish are just coming in, nosing the bait, and are really they're just completely turned off. And you kind of expect that when you get those, you know, sub-zero days, those bluebird sky days that are bitterly cold. But we're going to have these little fronts coming through like we got out there right now. And usually just before those fronts go through, the fishing can get really good. Or if you just get into kind of these light snow patterns, it seems like the fish kind of turn on. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case going through the weekend. And it's definitely, I would expect it going to be the case going into next week when we get to those days in the mid to upper 30s. And those warmer temps are also going to compact that snow that's out there on the ice. And then cold nighttime temperatures, it should make it a really nice crust, and it should make it a lot easier for us to get around out there, whether we're on machines or we're walking. So we do have that to look forward to. And I think we got several more weeks of ice fishing to look forward to too. We got great ice base in the canals and the near shore areas. Some of the guys are having a hard time actually getting through the ice in the really close in areas on the main lake because of the combination of just thick overall ice conditions and then that jam ice underneath. Sometimes they're having to run that auger for, you know, 20, 30 seconds just to clear all that chunk and all that slush out of the hole so they can get through. So sometimes it's a good idea as well, not only to take that spud bar with you, not just for safety, but if one of the guys has that spud, you can take it in that chunk ice and get down in there and stir it up with that spud, getting down several feet, and bring up a lot of those chunks so that you can get that jig down through the ice. You can clear a pocket a lot of times doing that using a spud, and then you don't take a chance on getting your auger stuck down in there. Any of you guys ever had stick that auger blade down or that auger down in there and have a big old sheet of ice come in and peg it in from the side? You can really have a tough time getting that auger back out, but with a spud it's really easy. So I guess that's another tip for you guys. If you're out there fishing that jam ice, use that spud, swirl it around down there, and bring up all those ice chips out of the hole, and it'll make your life a lot easier. I think that's all I got for you guys today. We got restocked on rods. I was able to track down some jet sleds for you guys too to make it easier out there, especially with all that snow and everything for all you walkers. And with that said, I guess we'll see you in here this weekend. Be careful out there on that ice and have fun. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon, and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.